Hi guys, welcome back to my live stream. The time now is 20 o'clock 20. We opened the live stream last minute, so to say 20 o'clock 19, and today's date is 2024 August 24th. 10th October 26, 2024. And a lot of things are going on, and today is Saturday, and I have not enough ability to go to IKEA to buy the plastic transparent kitten, so I cannot order it. But I think first I will not use that much plastic kitten, plastic containers, and instead of just first clean them and throw the trash away, so that we trash away trash. So we're gonna start now, and currently I'm watching the numbers from a car competition, and which is really somehow one of my enjoyment, like to watch numbers and etc. Like some readings, and I'm very sensible of characters and numbers we separate to be treated of. And so welcome back. Actually, finally I can open the study live stream instead of just just waiting for the spicy plus be cleaned up, and instead of just directly start, because that's really somehow important. We got a lot of things to do, and but here current living environment was very quiet, so I cannot sense that much urgent moment, and which remind me think of to do things fast. But still, I have a lot of things to catch up, like two weeks after the semester began, and yeah, exactly 2 weeks already, and a lot of things to review, and to do the practice to install a MATLAB and etc. So in that sense, I felt like very very happy recently, but I've been not allowed to show my happy emotion out. The reason is not very optimal, and strategically speaking, that better hide, because you don't know others' information. Like if you expose yourself, it doesn't mean that's really somehow good and beneficial for you. That's why first I got the beverage as usual, and it is my major, but I got Professor Steiner and the calling for everywhere as well, so they can pay the price if for L get something wrong, like the foley zone and etc. So otherwise they are not my supervisor, but I follow them for a long time. That's why. And today we got a lot of thing at ED shop, and which previously I also not believe that ED shop really can deal with some, and this one as well. My favorite forbidden snack, because that is FB, and cannot converge that much with FB, instead of to sacrifice like my so expensive major and invest so much money, and to just like lose for and etc. Not very disciplinary in these things, but it's really great, and it is advertisement. And if you guys want to buy and go to the Go ASEAN, and they will give me the part, and so yeah, and yeah, I like this so much, but it's like not very good to be to always eat, because that is the university to characters, and if you exhaust them, and afterwards your thinking environment will not very purified. So yeah. Later, when I at least first graduated for my bachelor, and then I finally can make transaction through my bachelor study, and etc. Then will be fine. Now I first limited by like examination office and professor TI and PhD, those kind of person at university. Mm. 还有反正我那里有了。目前我的感受是，就是他们是天呐，这是恐怖。Very scary。我这个里面只能装铅笔，然后如果是这个笔盒和那个就是和那个熊猫的话，它们是 incompatible with each other. The reason is 那个这个是里面只是铅笔的，然后昨天和我同 family 那个女生，然后她是 round， 它是圆的，所以它这个后面，然后就是可能就没有办法 compatible with each other， 然后就是这个意思，然后就有点粗，然后就有点发了一些下来。 sound，然后感觉到不是呢，然后但是much like only the small goods, but you still have not win, and that's a problem. And cool. We're gonna share actually. Can directly drink without without 哦天哪and if we don't if we don't have a mode to study that I did a second video and so to say the dream state doesn't have all nonsense. Some will have also effect, but most of the, especially after I live in Spandau and make that ineffective for most cases. MBER today doesn't have any new publication. Is only one. The style is really like the IB belly and inefficiency, which they considering a lot. I guess is a limitation about the resource only embedding, and which actually MB National Bureau of Economic Research Institute actually that they have much more money and the fundings and the resources as the IB embedding. So they are capable actually every day to publish like 8 to 9 articles at least, especially in a weekend. But it is nonetheless like the IB belling and which I don't know whether they have the resource limitations, which only can put some relevant economists which by symboling and to publish their articles or working papers and etc. So I guess the reason, but their style is tended to be aligned with each other, but MBE actually doesn't have that need to, and so it seems like if they share the similar environment and the side from MBE absolutely fears of whether the small agency will take over their resources and time, money, and fundings, etc. So that's why they don't make move and don't react, and etc. But another side from the DB point of view, and that's that's one institute, which it is like a state old institute, yeah. But if they host, for example, like MBE, those kind of huge American Economic Research Institute, then they cannot last in that pressure and energy, I guess. So for both sides, I hope they separated in some extent to each other. But we're gonna start review. It is 蓝莓牛奶，but 我不知道为什么今天这蓝莓牛奶就是很小，就是非常小的一杯，然后有点像是给我那个 Papi Dear。然后这边 insgesamt nur eine Publikation bei Robert J. Gordon, and which I really interested in which kind of logic, implicit picking logic they are, pick up logic which they are using. And for example, like except the two characters like oh my god, two characters like RB and what kind of criterion they could still use, and yeah. recently I got very lost, like Friday and this week, two lecture by Professor Stella, and yeah, that I lost two videos, video recordings, which is actually has no voice, and yeah, you can also save that, but it doesn't make any sense. Um, yeah. So Mobile does change the color, and it's really somehow great. And info has a lot of publications, interesting publications, and etc. So sad color. First thing, we need to check the health sciences, which they have two publications, and which relevance with me. So I will check the access number, the increase or not, and otherwise is the citation. And I expected so much that if anyone could cite it, and the reason is it will it will increase in the impact factor, and which more people will know this kind of existence of the thoughts. And another side is that yeah, only one reason I guess recently, which today at this moment, which I can sort of, and and another mm, another problem is about so we 直接 go to the 20 and say what happening here, like second April, and yeah, it's only one side, and uh, so we can have a split view. To write in good notes. 里面怎么是？天呐，我不买房了，我的天呐，太贵了。 不会吧，我的天！天！哈哈哈哈哈！天哪！这个上面明显是有那个黑豆的，然后但是我吸管我找不到了，我的天呐。 我觉得我觉得目前的情况就是缓解面试前，如果没有反馈的话，也就代表着可能没有什么正式的这种 continue 的这种链接吧，我觉得。
einen Monat nach dem iranischen Raketenangriff auf Israel hat das Land einen Vergeltungsschlag ausgeführt. Er fiel allerdings weniger schwer aus als befürchtet. In der vergangenen Nacht hatten israelische Kampfflugzeuge mehrere Ziele im Iran angegriffen, nicht aber die für das Regime so wichtigen Atomanlagen oder Ölproduktionsstätten. Die Regierung in Teheran meldete begrenzte Schäden und kündigte eine Reaktion an.
Kampfjets starten in der Nacht in Israel. Beginn der Militäroperation Tage der Umkehr. Dann sind in Teheran und 2 iranischen Provinzen Explosionen zu hören. In 3 Wellen greifen die Israelis an. Ziele, offenbar Raketenfabriken, Flugabwehrstellungen und ein Forschungszentrum. Aber keine Atom- oder Ölanlagen. Am Tag werden die Schäden sichtbar. In Teheran kehrt heute nur langsam der Alltag zurück. Den Menschen steckt der Schrecken der Nacht immer noch in den Gliedern. Die Angriffe waren ziemlich schlimm, aber wir waren darauf vorbereitet. Wir haben sie abgewehrt. Das tut mir alles so leid. Ich weiß nicht, ob letzte Nacht jemand getötet worden ist und größter Schaden ist. Ich hoffe, es ist nichts Schlimmes passiert. Weißt du, was Krieg ist? Das ist wie ein Krebsgeschwür. Entweder es kann geheilt werden oder im iranischen Staatsfernsehen wird der Angriff heruntergespielt. Man berichtet von 4 getöteten Soldaten und geringen Schäden und meldet, dass man den Angriff erfolgreich abgewehrt hat. Der israelische Premierminister Netanyahu und hohe Militärs verfolgen die Operation in der Nacht in einem Bunker in Tel Aviv. Es ist die Vergeltung für den massiven iranischen Raketenangriff vom 1. Oktober mit rund 200 ballistischen Raketen. Israel warnt jetzt den Iran vor Gegenangriffen.
The Israel Defense Forces.
Die israelische Armee hat ihren Auftrag erfüllt. Wenn die iranische Regierung den Fehler macht, eine neue Eskalation zu suchen, werden wir gezwungen sein, zu reagieren.
We will be obligated to respond.
In Teheran haben sie die Bilder der in den letzten Monaten getöteten Anführer von Hamas, Hezbollah und den iranischen Revolutionsgarden aufgehängt. Wie, ob und wann auf den heutigen Angriff reagiert wird, ist unklar. Das iranische Außenministerium kündigt so wörtlich eine Reaktion an.
Björn Dake in Tel Aviv, das war nun also der erwartete Gegenschlag. Wie wird die Aktion in Israel bewertet?
Die israelische Armee gibt sich große Mühe, diese Militäraktion als Erfolg zu verkaufen, als besondere Antwort auf die Aggressionen des Irans. Wenn man die Menschen hier im Land fragt, fällt das unterschiedlich aus. Die Bewertung, die einen, die sagen, richtig so,
Tel Aviv. Die Bundesregierung rief nach dem Vergeltungsschlag zur Zurückhaltung auf. Kanzler Scholz erklärte, es dürfe nicht immer weitergehen mit massiven Reaktionen. Israel habe versucht, Personenschäden gering zu halten. Ein Krisenstab im Auswärtigen Amt beobachtet die Lage. Aufrufe zur Deeskalation kamen auch von den USA, aus Großbritannien und Frankreich. Länder. In Thüringen sind die. In der Fußball-Bundesliga hat Leipzig gegen Freiburg 3:1 gewonnen. Damit bleiben die Sachsen auch am 8. Spieltag ungeschlagen. Ergebnisse St. Pauli, Wolfsburg 0:0. Auch wenn die Temperaturen zurzeit mild sind, der Sommer ist zu Ende und heute Nacht endet auch die Sommerzeit. Um 3 Uhr in der Früh werden die Uhren auf 2 zurückgestellt. In der EU wird schon länger darüber diskutiert, die Zeitumstellung abzuschaffen. Eine Lösung ist aber nicht in Sicht. Die Gelegenheit, einmal ganz grundsätzlich über die Zeit nachzudenken.
Es ist wieder soweit, die Uhren werden umgestellt. Und wieder wird darüber diskutiert. Aber was ist das überhaupt? Zeit. Warum vergeht sie gefühlt langsamer, wenn die eigene Mannschaft kurz vor Schluss 1:0 führt?
Pfeife ab jetzt!
Aber rasend schnell, wenn sie noch ein Tor machen. Warum dauert eine Minute beim Warten auf den Zug ewig, aber rauscht vorbei, wenn er schon da ist?
Wenn ich so richtig am Stöbern bin und mir alles ganz genau angucke und dann ist plötzlich eine Stunde vorbei und ich denke so, oh nein.
Ich weiß, dass sie langsamer vergeht, wenn man irgendwie der Schlange auf der Toilette wartet, beispielsweise.
Joachim Hass forscht in Heidelberg zum Zeitempfinden. Etwa indem er Probanden Fotos unterschiedlich lange zeigt und sie die Zeit schätzen lässt. Denn je höher die Taktung der Eindrücke im Gehirn, desto kürzer das Zeitempfinden.
Es kommt darauf an, ob ich gerade sehr genau hinschauen muss, sehr viel takten muss, sehr schnell takten muss,
auch auf Veränderungen genau achten muss, weil ich zum Beispiel sonst gegen den Pfosten renne. Oder wenn ich sitze und warte, da passiert nichts, dann kann die Zeit auch eben langsamer vergehen.
Das Gehirn passt sich an im Sekundentakt. Viele kleine Zeitumstellungen quasi jeden Tag.
Und nun die Wettervorhersage für morgen, Sonntag, den 27. Oktober.
Das Nordmeertief lenkt feuchte und kühlere Luft in den Norden. Im Osten und Süden bleibt es weiter sehr mild. Heute Nacht machen sich in den Niederungen wieder Nebel und Hochnebel breit. Später ziehen von der Nordsee und den Benelux-Ländern dichte Wolken auf, die morgen im Westen und Norden zuweilen Regen bringen. Sonst nach teilweise zähem Nebel oft Sonnenschein. Mancherorts bleibt es aber auch trüb. In der Nacht kühlt es ab auf 14 bis stellenweise 4 Grad. Morgen im Dauergrau rund 13, bei längerem Sonnenschein bis zu 20 Grad. Am Montag in der Südhälfte häufig Nebel, danach meist freundlich. In der Mitte etwas Nieselregen, nach Norden hin dicht bewölkt und öfter nass. Auch Dienstag und Mittwoch teils bewölkt oder neblig trüb mit etwas Regen, teils aber auch Sonnenschein.
Um 23.15 Uhr erwarten Sie in den Tagesthemen mit Julia Niharika-Sen die ersten Ergebnisse der Richtungswahl in Georgien. Und wir fragen, warum die israelischen Angriffe auf den Iran auch als Zeichen der Deeskalation gewertet werden. Ich wünsche Ihnen noch einen schönen Abend.
Guys, we're currently reading the 2004 article. I never read those non-current literature and publications, also working papers, and it's a lot of kind of papyrus. And one that is not actual. I like 2004, and why is 4 years old, and I was 12 years old, and 12 years old can be ignored, but 4 years old does matter, and those kind of logic, like I really don't want to read that, even after 17 years, David Cards won a prize, and and it's very like cousin Dre, professor, and I'm not sure whether John Hammond is wants his PhD or not, or another similar like, but it's all very nice, but really hurt my hands and the reason is actually you don't need to do that. You cannot film the bottom of oops tea and fruit tea while you did that. While you do that, it is so time consuming and costly. And so you just drink that because the 2.0 that is very precious, like my that time IPS certificate. So that I guess that's the reason why I feel like so stressed off. And another point is that I I really don't know why. Like recently, I got linked with the authors following like second author and the third author. That is 3T actually. That is this and exactly with the citation of 8th April this year. So I was thinking, my God, what I link with this real paper and whatsoever would cite it, and you can enter into another access like so the semantic, like why this semantic actually existed is the reason why I know. And I once when I back my hometown and I got that salmon is one psychic like like salmon and it's I don't know that very much. I never researched about this psychic profession, and so which in a very traditional Asian time. And but I once follow a psychic which from Taiwan, and very much like afterwards compensation, and 1,428 graduated in that year, and I suffered a lot because I have not go through that process in 2017, and I repeated and recycled again, and I find someone on the internet very much like her, and it's a psychic in Taiwan. And then afterwards, she got into the TUB and then to transfer the study to KIT, Karlsruhe. And we changed somehow how in some extent our soul, and she did, whatsoever. That graduates all do my thing actually, and like in financial area and do the thing which I don't like actually, and afterwards if can stay why not then. And what happened afterwards, and a lot of a lot of energy and triggers he to change the university because she could hardly to stay at Berlin in that time, and in between there are a lot of implicit transactions which those kind of thing destroyed me in that time. And so way back to this paper, like like I the title is not very important, but the problem is only why like RS professor and 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, I already be linked with this dark character, and they don't want me to say that if it is the travel bag and why that actually matters. But But there are several things like within the PowerPoint from this week economic lecture series from JFK Institute, and which the Professor Ko has presented something about home ownerships and etc. And there is only no need as, but in his slides that he presented one lower half of R and 2 that combine with a zona symbol in traditional Chinese character, but it's not exactly the zona symbol. Instead of is one when they 镶嵌 together, they forged这个that's why it's quite interesting, because why I write in an introductory, and I find my writing is natural order, like to directly like this, and it means that somehow the PowerPoint like slides, and they are going this way, and my mind is just like so it's kind of interesting. Means I also captured a lot actually, but is not as satisfy their requirement, and they want me to remember more. That's fine. And another point is that Carlos, I after the Friday's class and went to the Mensa 2, and then someone from the research institute like Max Planck Institute is not MP 所 instead of is one faculty is like the Dalam Research School and the Perlai. They host sometimes the conferences and which you can observe of, and the Carlos is just science and just came out and with a similar like, and I still don't understood very much why he came out and phone have the phone call there. So they open the door, and usually they don't do this action, and the reason is that they are too Hokknese, they are too Georgians, and not Georgians, they are too they don't need to give the faculty or even the institution some attention. The reason is the research institute they are naturally higher than the teaching institute, isn't it? So that's why at Friday after the science, similar like of science, the came out in, and it's really important like this week to read that. But I don't have the guilty feeling. And the reason is it's not very difficult to actually read this kind of MBA when that's be found in the MBA working paper series. So even that is 2004, and I don't have that knowledge why professors overall to put this kind of article out, and like Guido, Imbens, and etc. They all belong to the same economic thoughts group, I guess. So this year's through 2019 and towards last year, actually 2022, and they all share the similar thoughts and background and etc. So we need charge the iPad and Mac instead of then otherwise I will not have enough battery in here, and physically I feel like my heart beating so fast, and like that feeling like you eat 火鸡面afterwards. You eat 火鸡面, and your peanut does not like the 火鸡面, and then you feel like very anxious, and that feeling is like when you have exam and before and etc. So 我想不太通，但是。 天哪，太恐怖了！我还是比较喜欢僧的 style， 僧好一点。僧的话就是更安帕斯一些，我们知道的时间更长一点。这有一点，天呐，但是就是这种远距离的这种联系的话，就伤害比较大一点，就是天呐，天呐！这是他的 perception, even that is one curve, another one is linear, but they actually from one observation. So from my point of view, and I don't give any interaction with because I don't know how to, and yeah. 还有得枯燥的。 we're gonna have a little break and just read a paper from Carlos, David Card, and Nicolas, and which is about the Medicare, and if that absent of this happens, what the situation could be described, and the racial issue, like to divide to the defined group of people, and which they upon their skin color and hair color and the face, and etc. to grouped them in Hispanic and Latin America, and in white, and in others. So to say that one yeah. The article itself doesn't interesting, and they got several appendix graphic, like one with a big jump, and very much the opposite the micro analysis, which the whiteboard, and and several new words, like only one which I 我不知道，但是我 captured less, so some data limitations issue, and it is very much like the self Stefan, and which don't make any conclusion because everything's uncertain. So otherwise, missing values in the paper, and like 2004 to 2004, like 20 years ago, and no running conscious around this kind of paper, so there is no reality value even by MVP, right? So introductory part, that is 2 sentences beginning with WT, and the 0852 can finish at least until the end of the first long sentence, and they have several definitions which noted by the bachelor, and it's some new words. Yeah, I don't think that is interesting. And I wrote several notes, like yeah, like fragmentation, which the EMF covers today, and fabric in BF instead of FB, and yeah. Okay, this is not so not the content, but the labeling effect, like price tag, which the price effect, what do you say that, and IEA and Kate, which Michigan University, they converse the thing too, but I don't think that really someone cares about 2004 publication, and yeah. OK，我们重新看一下这篇文章，然后它一共有73页，然后它这个 title 是 Impact of Nearly Universal Insurance Coverage on Healthcare Utilization and Health Evidence from Medicare. And I think on the class, professor was asked one question about whether people have more willingness to pay for health insurance if they have a lower or higher expectation towards the health insurance price, and whether they are sensitive or they are not sensitive towards the price change of the Medicare and healthcare and etc. And in the class, I feel like very uncomfortable because I already read the publication and literatures. I have not because I have not checked the table and I don't know which one that was. And afterwards, I got several ideas about actually people do not need to have that sensitivity towards any healthcare price because that is government defined, like in the Europe countries that which they have the private and the government public health insurance. For example, like if you are in a group of public health insurance, you don't need to somehow in some extent you don't need to be sensitive about the healthcare price, but here is just one issue, like how to define the health status, like how healthy is health, and is that health only means that no diseases, or health means that different degree when you're already in a healthy status, and is that make any differences? And I want to ask that question, but my my RG, my cup here does not function, and I was thinking that people does not need to care about the price of health, and the reason is you cannot buy health, and then why you should care about the price of health? So if you got disease, and it is like one enforcement that you must go to the hospital and you must pay the health debt, and once you got insurance be covered, like diseases exactly in the list which you can cause of in purpose of academic positions and etc. So you don't think about the price of health insurance because that is one mandatory for everyone to have health insurance. So the price, whether change or not change, and it's non-sensible. So it's insensibility which you can observe within this kind of problems. I don't think it's really can be discussed like health insurance, like Inflation Reduction Act. That's totally different thing. And today, after buying and being directed to Inflation Reduction Act, and the macroeconomics does not mention this content, I mean directed by some direction else. So that's the most thing I feel like uncomfortable with. And another one is that that why is the health insurance or health issue being regulated by government, and why is that not private, or why the business driven intention will not allow those some insurance at least exist. This also does not need discuss. The reason is it is cross the life boundary, and the government can take those kind of responsibilities because they are not only for the profits. If, For example, like the money quantifies the group of people if they are rich or not, and they give everyone the same access when it towards same health issue, like towards life, everyone's equal and no judgment about whether you have a wealth. My God, you are more rich or you are more poor, and it doesn't make any sense. So I don't think the monetary value in this sense makes difference. Oh my God，天呐，my og，天呐，我的眼睛，然后已经去了很多黑色的这种 black point。My good. So guys, we're gonna sleep a little bit and have a little bit of break. And I feel uncomfortable. Like you see, has LMU's junior Wissenschaftler came again and to link with my intimacy party and eyes, and I feel like very very uncomfortable. So only every time since I enjoyed in reading co-publications, which helps me to grasp understanding, and so those kind of so come in to bother you. It is like PB and examination office, and it's I really don't like them. I hope I soon can get rid of them, but it's very difficult. I know. So we have a lot of heija and etc. Oh, okay, well, I don't want to talk anything, and so yeah. So guys, we're gonna have a little break, and I'll heard in one publication in the CO2, and lots of things to recap. The coverage is that whether you have more diseases as the health insurance, which could cover of. Yeah, okay. Upon my understanding. So yes, let's just have a little break. My God, my eyes. 天呐, I bought already, and those guys still cannot let you easy go. OK， OK， 我们现在休息一下。我觉得是这个灯光的原因，然后我把这个灯关一下。 天呐！天呐，我要进入后面的。
before the session starts, as it helps us bring more people here. It is much appreciated. Okay. Well, let me know, guys, if you have something that you want to talk about. Yeah, we had interesting FP1 and FP2 sessions. In FP1, we had some red flags, and yeah, a lot of drivers couldn't really do much because of all the delays because of the red flags. We had first Kimi Antonelli running over debris on the starting straight, which damaged the board of Lewis Hamilton's car. Then we had Alex Albon touching Oliver Bierman. It was an incident that pushed Albon into the wall and brought back the red flags. In FP2, we had a prolonged session, which was 90 minutes, so all of the teams were given a schedule from Pirelli to run the test tires, and nobody knew what kind of tires will accept Pirelli. They are running, so yeah, there will be some tests, and we got George Russell, who rode a bit too hard on the curb and ended up in the wall with 30G force, which was of course scary, but thankfully so it's okay. You checked, and yeah, the medical car was deployed. And then yeah, we had the FP3, which was a calm session, no red flags. So yeah, everyone completed by their schedule. So we will see how it goes in quali, and if everyone managed to find their perfect setups for quali and for the race. McLaren's look best in FP3. So yeah, we will see if they can keep up with this. I've seen a lot of you were saying that this track fits better for Piastri. So it's going to be interesting if Piastri can match the pace of Norris, to see if now he's going to be helping Norris to maybe catch Max Verstappen, or there are going to be the papaya rules and maybe think of the future. Does Ferrari ever win on this track? I'm not sure when was the last time that Ferrari won here. Let me see. See if I can find that information. Okay, let's see the history of this track. Yeah, Ferrari has won here twice, in 1970 and in 1990. So it seems that this is... No, these are repeat winners. No, actually the last time that Ferrari won here was 1990, and it was Alain Prost. This seems to be a tough track for people. See, they are looking good. A couple of races ago, they're challenging the title for the Constructors' Championship. So we will see how it goes. Actually, it says Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc. Hey, Paula, hey, Jay. Hello. Show the footage. So we just show the live data, live timings minimum, and yeah, we have the drivers' radios, we have alternate commentating, we have the chat. So hope you stay with us, and yeah, you find this interesting. Yeah, it's been a while for Ferrari on this track. It's 1990. Maybe this is the year when they break the curse, let's say. Okay. Well, let me know, guys, in chat. What do you want to talk about? Or if you have any questions. I already had some predictions from you about quali, but what do you think about the race? Which team would perform best? Like, maybe we can see it as which team will win most points on this track, because that is an interesting battle for the Constructors' Championship. I would
oder eine gemeinsame Sprache sprechen können, die sie auch den Kundinnen und Kunden zur Verfügung stellen können, genau, dass sie informieren, in was könnt ihr investieren, in was wäre vielleicht besser zu investieren als eine Klimaperspektive oder eine Umweltperspektive. Ich denke, das Wort Denken bedingt aber schon auch, dass man beide Seiten explizit beantwortet. Also die Frage, wohin sollte das denn gehen, auch in
einfach eine Schleuse öffnet, dass das Geld in der Wirtschaft wächst. Das muss bedenken, dass wir ein Teil ist. Das kann sich auch wieder sehr schnell ausgleichen und es gibt eben auch Nachfrage nach bestimmten Energieformen. Also das ist ja ein Aspekt, wohin fließt das Kapital, aber letztlich geht es um die Energieinfrastruktur on the ground, die gebaut wird und diese Finanzlösung muss eigentlich werden. Ich glaube, eine Regulierung, die verbieten würde, in bestimmte Segmente der Wirtschaft zu investieren, wäre eine Überreaktion. Ich denke, da müsste man eher ansetzen auf der Seite der Externalitäten. Also als politisches Programm, denke ich, wäre eine Besteuerung von Emissionen sicherlich sinnvoller als eine Strangulierung von Investitionen in den einen oder anderen Sektor. Aber man muss auch bedenken, einige Innovationen bezüglich erneuerbarer Energien werden in den etablierten Energieunternehmen passieren. Von daher scheint es mir ein ungeeignetes Instrument, um wirklich das Ziel zu erreichen, was ja letztendlich eine Emissionsreduktion im Energiesystem ist.
Ich würde sagen, das Beispiel der Glühbirne zeigt sehr gut, wie Verbote schnell wirken können und dann aber auch sehr schnell Innovationen antreiben können, dass wir eben all die Sorgen, die davor bestanden, ob jetzt die Glühbirne wirklich noch so schön ist, wenn es nur ein LED-Licht ist, dass man eben damit auch ganze Prozesse anreißen oder anstoßen kann. Und ich glaube, wir haben manchmal eine etwas verkrampfte Haltung zu Verboten. Es gibt ja auch Finanzinstitute oder gewisse Produkte, die Wahlkriterien festlegen, die sagen, man darf nicht in Öl oder Kohle investiert sein, oder bis zu einem ganz kleinen Ansatz. Ich glaube, man kann da schon auch weiterdenken und sich überlegen, was könnte innovative Finanzprodukte beinhalten und was eben nicht, oder was Maßstandards wirklich auch wollen.
Es ist nicht verboten, über Verbote nachzudenken, das ist klar. Aber ich denke, man muss lieber überlegen, wie umgehen die Leute dann die Verbote. Und wenn man jetzt ein konkretes Beispiel machen würde, angenommen es sei Unternehmen den Kohleabbau zu investieren. Was würde passieren? Man würde wahrscheinlich, wenn das jetzt Aktientitel sind, man würde die verkaufen an andere Investoren im Ausland und könnte wiederum wahrscheinlich in diese anderen Investoren investieren, die dann wiederum mit den Kohleabbauproduzenten investieren. Also das ist einfach, also wenn man das verbieten würde, das ist sehr einfach zu umgehen, von daher nicht geeignet. Risikobeurteilung ist noch zu sagen, dass es die allgemein akzeptiert ist als Fakt, dass die Investition in CO2-Entwicklung riskanter ist als andere. Viele Dinge sind aber einfach schon im Preis integriert zum jetzigen Zeitpunkt. Von daher würde ich den Markt am besten nicht in erster Linie als Risikoassessment verstehen, sondern ein Assessment zur CO2-Intensität von Folien. Das ist Risikomanagement eines Investors eigentlich. Das ist nochmal eine ganz andere Frage. Deswegen möchte ich das nicht als Diagnose sehen, dass mal Risiko ignoriert werden. Trotz allem ist sicher da noch viel Arbeit notwendig, Klimarisiken fundiert abzubilden, also die Portfolioentscheidung. Das ist ganz klar.
Also ich glaube, die EU-Taxonomie ist einer der ersten Schritte, die es ermöglicht, wieder diese gemeinsame Sprache, ermöglicht dadurch, dass wir das Finanzintermediäre den Kundinnen und Kunden überhaupt zeigen können, was sind denn nachhaltigere oder weniger nachhaltige Firmen über den gesamten Aktivitätsspektrum. Da gibt es ja weit über das Klimathema hinaus. Und eben dadurch, dass sie diese Informationen haben wollen oder brauchen, wird es auch Thema in dieser Unternehmen. Das kommt ganz oft auf die Agenda politische Auseinandersetzung, was dann genau noch über dem Benchmark liegt, was noch als grün oder nicht mehr grün angeschaut wird, das hat sich jetzt in den letzten Jahren in diesen Diskussionsstellen sehr stark gezeigt. Das ist natürlich völlig eine ganz andere Meinung als
Genau, ich denke, die Taxonomie ist hilfreich in dem Sinne, dass sie eine Datenbasis schafft, auf deren Basis dann alle möglichen Parteien, unter anderem eben auch die G-Raters, Produkte basieren können. Aber es gibt diese Grundlage, so wie man es im Moment in den finanziellen Kennzahlen auch hat. Und ich finde auch schön, dass es eben basierend dann auf Revenues und Capital Expenditure, und dass man sieht, womit verdienen Firmen Geld und wo wollen wir in der Zukunft Geld verdienen, dass man das eben recht hoch aufgelöst sehen kann, auch für die Branche natürlich sehr attraktiv. Aber ich denke, eine sinnvolle Basis, um eine Wirtschaft über eine Transition hin zu begleiten. Allerdings ist die EU-Taxonomie nicht das einzige Framework, oder? Es gibt auch auf der internationalen Ebene noch die International Sustainability Accounting Standards. Es bleibt abzuwarten, wie andere große Wirtschaftsstandorte, wie zum Beispiel die USA, das handhaben werden. Also es ist leider nicht so, dass die Taxonomie dann der eine Standard, an dem sich alle orientieren werden. Der ist nicht gesetzt. Es besteht die Möglichkeit, dass es kommt, aber es ist nicht ganz klar, ob es diese, ich denke, von allen Parteien gewünschte Vereinheitlichung wirklich wird. Was kann man sagen? Wenn wir jetzt fokussieren auf die Finanzentscheidung, würde ich zuerst darüber nachdenken, was passiert dann mit dem Geld auf dem Konto, bei welcher Bank liegt das und was machen Sie damit? Das weiß ich in der Regel nicht, darum will ich achten. Zweitens, was ist das Vermögen, was man anspart? Das ist zum größten Teil wahrscheinlich die geeignete Kasse, da muss man nachschauen, das investiert wird, nachfragen. Und dann drittens, das muss man frei selbst investieren, vielleicht in den Säulen oder so. Da kann man sich natürlich dann aus dem ganzen Produkt auswählen. Ich würde generell immer auf die Kosten achten und auch über den Effekt haben möchte. Ich persönlich mache es so, dass ich den größten Teil relativ standardmäßig in die günstigen Formen.
Hello everyone, welcome to this small clip. My name is Alma Tervalatera. I'm the head of communications at CSP, and I'm joined here with Julian Cowdell and Florian Hare, two of our researchers.
Hi.
So we're here due to the fresh publishing or publication of a research paper called Can Sustainable Investing Save the World? Reviewing the mechanisms of investment impact. And we'd like to discuss a few of the key findings and the takeaways of the paper. But before we go into the actual findings, I'd like to rewind a bit and reflect on where did you start from?
Where sustainable finance comes in. If you have a bank account where you have a little bit of money or maybe a lot of money, it doesn't just stay there in the safe. The bank will take the money and invest it somewhere. You probably don't know where, but they have lots of different options what they could do with the money. And usually banks take sort of we do everything approach. But you own the money, so you should have some say in what happens with it. And that sort of activating that sort of link, that's what sustainable finance is all about. But what I think is important now that we move from the ambition and targets are more or less the same between control and treatment. And that makes sense if you think that, they allow for 24 months to follow up with the target. Realistically, if you ask in February, please commit to this initiative, it's feasible within a couple of months to get the okay from, the CEO to send this commitment letter, but to actually come up with a plan how you will reach those targets and then get it verified by SBTi is probably tied within 1 year. So I think it makes sense that we see most of it coming from commitments. obviously, we are just waiting until the 24 months have passed to do a follow-up analysis and see, well, what happens now. So do we see the same treatment effect actually also in targets that are actually set? Oh, I think I'm going way too fast, but that means we have more time for discussion, so maybe that's good. I think the implications are that, this very concrete case, financial institution, in this case an index provider, they requested a public commitment to a net zero target and communicated a threat of exit for non-compliance. So if you sort of pair these two things, you will request something that's kind of limited, you sign up for this initiative, and you say, well, if you don't, actually there's consequences in terms of our index in this case, then we see that causes additional commitments that probably otherwise wouldn't have happened. I think it also provides a blueprint for investors who are interested in demonstrating their impact, and that's for legal purposes interesting in certain jurisdictions because you're not really allowed to use the word impact anymore if you can't back it up. So I think with an experiment like that, you're probably, you have a good case to say, well, we tested it and we do have an impact. We think we can make 4 contributions. One is straightforward on the empirical literature on engagement. We don't contradict actually the results of the prior literature. They all have found in varying degrees the effectiveness of engagement, but I think we add an important point and we can have greater confidence in this causal effect. If we think about the empirical literature on ESG screens, sort of the carbon premium or other sort of, where the assumption is that they're asset managers, asset owners, mutual funds who screen companies on certain ESG criteria, ESG ratings as well. Basically, there's a bit this discussion in the literature, is it exit that really matters? Is it voice? But I think what we see here is that it's the threat of exit that really drives firm behavior. That's actually an old idea. That's really what matters. So I think we can add to this, and that comes with the implication that financial institution that already has an ESG screen in place might actually be, if they want to have an impact, might be well advised to simply inform companies about the fact that it's there, and especially inform those companies who are kind of close to the threshold. Because we cannot assume currently that corporations are completely aware of all the index rules, all the investment rules that a variety of mutual funds and asset owners will have, because there's a lot of them. So being explicit about that, I think, is important. We can also say something about corporate governance by index exclusion, So that's kind of a corporate governance topic where in the absence of SEC regulation or other financial regulations, there is the idea that index providers have actually the power to enforce, certain rules that are implicit in their index rules. So if you construct the index such and such, then the idea is that companies might comply with them in the absence of a legal rule. It's viewed kind of rather critically in the corporate governance field because that gives index providers even more power. But we show here a case that this actually might work in the case of this, like setting a science-based climate target, which is a climate policy thing, but here we see some evidence that it works. We also see our experiment a little bit in the line of, the impact of sustainable finance beyond microfinance. So there have been these field experiments have been run a lot in the area of microfinancing. What are the effects of financial inclusion? But financial inclusion is kind of a small market compared to the sustainable investing market. So we are happy to sort of run a field experiment about the impact of this more mainstream sustainable finance and sort of add to that debate. So in terms of future research and some limitations, I think an obvious next question is to see, well, what are the knock-on effects of these SBT commitments? Right. I mean, so essentially what the company needs to do, they need to, send a letter to SBTI that is signed by someone responsible of the organization that says, yes, we are going to set ourselves a science-based target. It's a small step. I mean, that in and of itself doesn't reduce emissions, probably doesn't get us anywhere. So at this point, we just wait. We want to look at carbon emissions, but it takes a long time actually until you get given the reports from you get now probably the results for the year 2022. So it's still early days, but we're definitely interested in looking into that. Might be also interesting to sort of think about Climate Action 100 Plus. They already have done a lot of engagements in the past that sort of estimate what their ultimate, what their combined effect might have been based on the results we have now. There are some papers we relate to nicely. So Livestream has a nice paper also on channel engagement where they actually show that it results in tangible emission reductions. They do that with the New York State Controller. So that's something to pad our result, which is just a commitment to set a target. But we said, well, there's potential knock-on effects down the road. Alternate Kasperczyk have a paper that suggests that carbon reductions so far have been small from the companies that have set targets. So that's another relevant point to our results. And then there's a paper by Trudemier and Montier who suggests these commitments, maybe rather than reducing the carbon emissions of the firms themselves, they just sort of also have a feedback effect on the likelihood of future regulation, because it makes it easier for policymakers actually to regulate on climate change if they basically have the backing of industry setting targets and saying, yes, we can do this. Well, with that, I think I'm kind of at the end of my presentation. I have a few backup slides, but I don't want to extend it more than necessary. I see there are a couple of questions in the chat, so I'll hand it back and start the discussion. Thank you so much.
Well, great. Thanks so much, Julian. That was fantastic. And I think there are many questions in the Q&A. But before we get to them, let me ask a couple of mine, and then I am...
All right. Okay, sure.
I'm going to start with the stuff of the Q&A. So one of the things that I was wondering is if you could just say a little bit more about what is the incentive of the index provider itself. And is it incredible their threat to actually throw someone off the index? Have they actually ever done it? Or is it simply like cheap talk? So I'd be very curious to know a little bit more about the index itself. And if it's a science-based index, what sort of thing are we talking about? So that's one. The second, you sort of already alluded to a little bit. So a skeptic might say, given all of the greenwash literature that we have sort of already seen, right, that commitment doesn't really translate into any actual real actions. And so I understand that you cannot possibly look at some of the long-term stuff, but are there other balance sheet characteristics that you can already evaluate that would give you some sense of whether the firms that actually commit are moving in the right direction? So maybe if you could sort of get started with them, and then I'm going to start asking other stuff from the Q&A.
Yes, with pleasure. Great questions. So let me talk a bit about the index provider and how that works, and then sort of potential sort of knock-on effects, how we can see them. The incentive for the index provider when we started was, I think, that there were people inside the organization who understood that it would be valuable to demonstrate the impact of what they do in an experiment. So that started the whole thing. And I think the incentive was at that point the hope that would work out and that could be used as as a talking point for marketing and actually just building the case for these indices. So I think they saw it as a business development opportunity. Have they kicked people off the index? Yes, of course. So these are index rules. I think they could, in theory, be changed, but as far as a credible threat of exit goes, that's probably as good as it gets. Because changing index rules when push comes to shove looks super bad. And I think, so yes, they have done that for all kinds of other reasons, right? If you're in liquidity, sort of the free float drops below a certain margin, then you also fly out of the index. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah, perhaps something that is also worth mentioning in that context. So it is actually a little bit unclear how much money is tied to that particular index. So there are very few ETFs that build directly on those indices. But there are large asset owners who use the index to benchmark their own investments. But it's they don't commit to follow the index 100%, of course. So I would say also on the side of the corporations, there is a little bit of uncertainty of how relevant is this. And in that sense, it's nice that we did find something. Otherwise, that would be really, really hard to say what's going on. To your second question, so I completely agree, right? And committing to set a target, so people already sort of are pretty critical often of those targets, and this is just a commitment to a target. So, is this moving the needle? Yeah, I admit, I don't know. So we need a lot more than that to really make a dent. We are, I think, at the moment it's a matter of time. So the nice thing is we have identification now through this letter campaign, and now we just wait and look at other variables. I mean, we could look at. So I'm actually pretty skeptical that to see big effects on carbon emissions and also on capital expenditure. So that's just, in my view, that's just not how corporations roll, is that they change their CapEx plans due to, investor engagement. So I'm a little bit skeptical that we would see that. I think, we'll look at it when the time comes. I think it's also important so I think that engagement of investors can play a role in making these things go a little faster, happen a little sooner, but it's not enough, certainly. I think this is a case where you can say, well, at least it's not complete greenwashing. I mean, they did something and then something did happen. Whether that something is then enough in the bigger scheme of things, that's sort of, I see the challenge, but I would also play it back to some extent is that, so far there's very few things that we truly know that will solve the problem, except perhaps geoengineering and also there. So it's a game of uncertainties, and then here we have a little bit of, so, there's this trade-off. We know now a little bit more about maybe a small thing, and there are bigger actions that we might take, about which we perhaps know less. That's my reaction to that. But I mean, the challenge, I'm keenly aware of it.
I think you're on mute.
Yes.
I
was
just wondering where you were. Yes, okay.
Awesome. No, thanks so much. That was super helpful. Let me ask a couple of questions from the chat. So Steve is asking a couple of very interesting questions. So one is whether anyone's actually monitoring the change in what happens after you commit. If anyone's actually monitoring a firm's behavior. And the other question is this whole debate about exit versus voice. And so obviously that's a big question in the literature, whether it is more effective to disinvest from a brilliant firm, or it's better to sort of pull the equity and use ownership to influence the firm's behavior. So do you have, so does your results sort of point towards one of them being better than the other?
Yeah, super good questions. Thank you, Steve. And thanks for relaying them. I actually didn't see them. So is anyone monitoring? So anyone in the sense that yes, SBTI is monitoring if you have committed and you didn't follow up with a sensible target that they verified as, as in accordance with their criteria, and their criteria are okay, strict, then you are now listed as commitment removed. And I think I checked this morning, there are 360 companies that will now have commitment removed. I saw, so airlines, for example, at the moment, they have a hard time having verified commitments because they decided that carbon compensation is not allowed. And as an airline, currently, there's just no way you get to zero without some degree of compensation. So there is a bunch of checking going on by SBTI itself, and I encourage everyone to just look at that data. I think that's a really great resource that we have, and you see the changes. If you need old vintages, happy to give them to you. I download this every month. The second question on exit and voice. So I think what this shows, this is a combination of exit and voice. And I think the idea that you have to do one or the other is a little bit, it's true to some extent, but it's not entirely true. So the most effective way, or what comes out here is a combination that we have a threat of exit. And they say, well, but then they combine it with voice and say, listen, this is how we rule. This is how we invest. This is our rule. And they basically make it contingent. They say, look, every year your weight is going down a little bit until you're out of this index. Unless you do exactly this, I tell you exactly what you need to do. You need to write and let you do this SBTI homepage and commit. And you have to have a verified target at this and this date. So it's like super explicit. So and I think that combination of exit and voice is powerful because, of course, the criticism of divesting is, well, then you divest and then others have control who are potentially less, interested in the climate, and then, ultimately you're, it's counterproductive. Well, that's because after you've done your Wall Street walk, you're irrelevant. You sort of have to make your demands before that. I think that's kind of obvious, really. But the limitation of voice only is that, there are situations where, the asset manager picks up the phone and calls the company and they say, we have to talk about the climate. And they talk about the climate for 1 hour and then they both hang up and they're like, yes, we talked about the climate and nothing absolutely happens. Because the company knows they are hugging the index and never going to sell anyways. So then also, why should they do anything? So I think it's interesting to talk about the combination of voice and exit rather than just the dichotomy, should you do this or that.
Yeah, that's super helpful. There's a bunch of questions on sort of the robustness of the results. So let me just sort of combine the four of them in one and ask away. So basically, Christina, Nicholas, Enrico, they're all asking about the influence of sectors really. So is it the case that you see some of these results are coming out from a particular sector, or even like the country of incorporation? And I think there would be some interest in sort of seeing the results by sector. So maybe that's something that you can sort of try to do in the next version of the paper. And I had a related, sort of not exactly related question. So is there a reason why you're sort of not doing traditional different day here? Sort of looking at after the letter sent out, whether you're more likely to come versus, or sort of tracking the same firm over time instead of just looking at treatment versus control.
Good question. Let me just, I accidentally finished the presentation and it disappeared. So let me share it again. So the question around, so unfortunately I don't have tables showing sort of the value of the fixed effects, right? We ran the regression with fixed effects both in countries and sectors, and here you see that all countries are represented, sectors as well. I think what I can show is it's a profit regression, so
we should maybe have some sort of pseudo R squared. But you see the log likelihood, so the fit, it gets better when adding these fixed effects, but not super dramatically. So I think actually those effects aren't very strong. But it's a good idea to sort of disclose the full, there might be some of them that are significant that maybe you'll see. My example with France, I would be reassured if French companies do it more than others. That's true. Why not a classic diff and diff? I'm not sure. Would we gain anything? I mean, I haven't really thought about it. We could certainly do it. But I think here we have the advantage that we have already a control group. The control group is the control group. We don't need to, exploit that difference. It's not really something, I suppose, anyways, I will think about it. It throws me off track.
No worries at all. So let me sort of ask a couple of more related questions, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of the person who's asking this, but okay. So basically, I think the question really is, why do we see any effects in the control group? Because if this threat sort of already exists, if given that the index is public, you would expect to get kicked out no matter what, right? So why is this letter in particular, sort of acting as a trigger?
So I think this points to the fact that currently in the market there are gazillions of rules, ESG-wise, that indices, asset owners, asset managers invest by. And of course, they are in principle, they are public, but that doesn't mean that each and every CFO is aware of this. So I think there is kind of an information friction. So sometimes in models, right, we assume, there's a share lambda of green investors, they only invest companies with this threshold, and all companies know where that threshold is, and then they optimize and see, okay, let's invest a little bit more in green, and then so we make the threshold. That's kind of how we think about it in terms of models. But I think in reality, it's much more messy, right? We have all different ESG ratings, and companies are wondering which is the ESG rating that counts, and how much money is behind that. If we have a good grade, do investors even actually trade on that? So there's a lot of uncertainty. So in that sense, that letter, I think the difference that it makes is it gives them one very concrete point, where they say, well, this is the schedule. Currently, we're on track to be excluded on that index. And then they can make up it makes it easy basically for them, right? They can make up their mind, well, is it worth doing that versus dropping out of the index, and then they do it. So I think that's just really easy for corporations to handle. I think that's why the letter has an effect. I think there was a sub-question why we also see action in the control group, and that's obviously because this index provider is by far not the only one who asks for SPT commitments, right? There's many investors who will ask for that. There's just a general trend of companies doing that. So the control group, the black line, obviously reflects the general trend.
Great, and related to that, in fact, there was a question on whether it might be confusing for firms, given that different index providers provide different targets. Let me turn to some of the questions that our PhD student panelists are asking. And guys, if you can just unmute yourself and ask, maybe Olympia, you can start, and then I'm going to come to the others.
Hello. Thank you so much. So, thanks for the presentation. So I wanted to ask, what's the relationship between these SPT targets and, for example, CDP targets, given that there's some quite recent research, I would say January 24, Young, Kim, and Blue, that show that a lot of firms don't meet their CDP goals, those that committed to meet their emission reduction goals in 2020, and that there's no, usually no stock market reaction to this, like, missed, let's say. So, yeah.
I don't think I've seen the paper, but that sounds concerning, right? That even though companies miss their targets, that the market doesn't care. That sends a signal that, you know, they did it in the first place. So that's, I mean, I'm keenly aware of that. Is the problem is that, you know, the targets are all set for 2030 and 2050. Those are the two horizons over which you set targets. So it is just hard at this point in time to say if they will reach the target. I mean, I agree that it's bad if you sort of, you know, keep increasing emissions until 2029, and then, you know, magically within 1 year you'll come down of it. So that's it looks bad, but so I would have to look at the paper, how they do that right now already. Also, given that,
yeah, they use
know,
2020. Yeah, they use some firms, something like 1,000 firms have 2020 goals, so they look into that, and like, yeah, a lot of them they reach them. That's how they do it. But yeah, a lot of firms have much further goals.
So yeah, I think my response is that sounds concerning, and we have to be careful. Like, these are just targets and commitments with zero legal standing. So the only disciplining forces will be A, the market, and B, some sort of customer reputation or something like that. And if those two things don't pull, then we probably shouldn't think all that much of these targets. I agree. The one statement I heard from a person working inside a big corporation. So I asked, well, will you actually stick to the target? And they said, well, that depends on what everybody else is doing. And I think that's the spirit in which many of those targets are done. They say basically, you know, in principle, if the world moves, you know, on that trajectory, I'm going to be part of it. But I'm not going to be the only fool. So, no.
Like, they're not gonna disinvest from everyone, so.
Well, so if it's a financial, well, exactly, if it's a financial institution, if you want to, you know, it's hard to have a net zero portfolio in a world that's not net zero. I mean, you're really constrained. But also then, this was a corporate, it was, you know, in the real economy. And they said, well, you know, we're ready to go these steps, and we have our costing, we know what we're going to do, but we're not going to suffer while all our competitors were just, you know, not doing the same thing, right? So if that turns out to be the case, then, you know, we'll forget about our targets.
Great. Should we move to someone else, maybe? Alyssa, I'm gonna maybe. Okay, why don't you go ahead and then I'm gonna.
Sure. Alyssa's so ready.
Yes, I just wanted to come back to the earlier discussion that we had over the answer you gave, Julian, on that actually you can combine divestment, voice-ended divestment. And I wanted to point out that there's a paper by Mark Gosper, Patrick Bolton, and Frederick Samama called Net Zero Portfolios. And then there's a follow-up paper by Mark Gosper called Carbon Transition Risk and Net Zero Portfolios. And so in the first paper, they do something very similar. I think it will be relevant to compare to your study. So they essentially proposed a net zero version of the S&P 500 index, where initially the constituents of that net zero version of the index had that net zero index is the exact same constituents and weights as the normal S&P 500 index. But then over time, the index that is net zero decarbonizes according to a carbon budget aligned science targets pathway, so companies know when they will be divested if they do not decarbonize, and specifically that is the companies that are in the S&P 500. So there's indeed an opportunity for investors in the S&P 500 net zero index to engage to try to get them to decarbonize, so they know that they will not be divested. But if they do not decarbonize, then there is a where they will be kicked out. So it's a combination of divestment and voice, and as Felix Amaro would say, it's one of the first, like the one that you're mentioning, assets that actually implicitly captures the cost of the name, right? It captures the time urgency of the carbon budget. And then there's this follow-up paper by Marcin Osberg, which I mentioned, called Carbon Transition Review and Net Zero Portfolios, where Marcin Osberg shows that the distance to exit, which is sort of how many years we can invest in non-carbon rights, is actually priced into capital markets, and there is some carbon premium related to that. And I guess the one big question is, are these net zero or these indices that we're investing or not decarbonizing big enough, right? And for example, the S&P 500 is something like 12 trillion. The net zero version is only by now 10 billion. But then there's paper, which is also relevant, I think, to mention in your literature, Voice of Divestment by Marco Beck. Yeah. That even if there's no actual divestment or not really big size, still it may have a sort of like a stigma or something effect that may have a bigger effect on reputation and so on and so forth. But in my view, at least, if more investors actually invest in net zero index, then it would become bigger compared to the S&P 500, so it would reach close to trillions. Actually, it would really make a big difference. So I guess I'm just mentioning these papers because I think they're very tightly connected to what you were studying, and I think it will be very helpful to compare what they have done to what you were studying. And so it's really a remarkable, also curious to hear against your thoughts and what I mentioned.
Yeah, thank you. I think they all sound very much related. And I think I know the time to exit paper. The others, I'm not sure. So if you could send me the references, I would be very happy to double check. Yeah, that would be nice if a carbon-free version of the S&P 500 would become as big as the current S&P 500. I think it's not likely to happen anytime soon. But I agree, that would be very powerful.